Hi, and I'm glad to see that there are so many people that have joined in, patients who are here to learn more about the conditions that they have and understand what we're going through. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about peer support. There was a time when peer support was really hard to find. Often, some communities, maybe larger cities, would have small support groups that met in person, which was good, sometimes hard to get to, and often difficult to find, and certainly not available to everybody. But why? Why was peer support so important that we began to build an entire network of it across Canada? Because quite frankly, with the conditions that we have that we're talking about today, there is only so much that a doctor can do in 10 to 15 minutes. We can talk to them about diagnosis, referrals, prescriptions. But when it comes to some of the other more unique aspects of these diseases, there's often not enough time to cover them. Education about the conditions that we live with is often critical for being able to live the best life that we can. And where do we get that education? How do we find it? Well, that's where peer support can step in. Yes, you can still find community support groups out there that are meeting face to face, but we noticed that there was a boom of support that developed as the internet began to increase in its popularity. Why would we want to consider joining maybe an online Facebook group, a support group that meets on a regular basis, Zoom meetings where patients talk with patients, almost like a community support group? Why? What's the benefit? Well, isolation often leads to depression and anxiety, stress. Lack of knowledge or information about the conditions that we're dealing with leads us to a feeling of helplessness and hopelessness. When we reach out and connect with peers who have experienced what we're experiencing, live with what we live with, we have the ability to use their experience to bolster ours and move us down this path a little faster, with a little more ease, and a whole lot more friendship. I've been doing this all my life. And when I mean doing, is suffering with pain. I have experienced the side effects from medications. I have experienced the weird symptoms. I have tried those interesting treatment options, $39.95, and you can get the bracelet made from unicorn fur and fairy dust that is going to cure you of all your ails. I have fallen for all of it. But it took that lifetime for me to learn what I know about my condition and how best to help myself in improving my life. Imagine if you had to spend the next 50 years learning all of it by yourself. Peer support gives us the ability to share our experience, and with people with lived experience begin to share with each other, we can help bolster and lift each other up, especially during those times when it gets a little dark and a little scary. In peer support, you can learn about the condition, perhaps find new treatments, hear and listen to other people talk about things that they've done to improve their life. And that can be anything from finding new hobbies, like Adam said, or new treatment options that may be just coming out and you've not yet heard of. Quite frankly, if you're counting on a single doctor with their single lifetime experience to manage this condition, then you get that limited opportunity for treatment. If you reach out to a group of people, 20, 30, 100, and listen to what they've tried, you might find your way to something that works for you faster and easier. Peer support also offers that cheerleading approach. We use the term warriors, particularly with fibromyalgia, but with any chronic disease. And if you've ever stepped foot into a peer support Facebook group or online program, one of the things that you will learn is that those warriors aren't fighting their own battle. They're fighting a battle with everybody else in their community. Those people are there to support you, to answer questions, to cheer you up, to be a cheerleader when you have success. Those people make this walk a whole lot less lonelier. We know that there are times when it is hard to find somebody who can understand what we're dealing with. Our friends and family, with all of the love in their hearts, want to support us. But honestly, they've never experienced what it's like to be both fatigued and unable to sleep. They don't quite understand what it's like to wake up with a new rash and have to wonder whether you're getting sick or it's just a flare. They don't necessarily really understand the emotional and psychological toll that these diseases can take. But when you're talking to another person with lived experience, it is amazing the understanding that you can have with that individual and how that can give you the emotional and psychological support that you need to make it through another day, another week. Try one more thing. One of the things that I want to encourage you to do is get creative in looking for your peer support. If you are looking for an in-person community support, reach out to your doctor's office or other pain clinics in the region that you're in. Local PCNs in Alberta often have lists of support groups that are operating in their area, but you can also look online for online and in-person support groups. I suggest that when you do, that you take a bit of time to make sure that it's the right fit for you. Not every person fits in every group, and that's okay. You can search by disease or by chronic illness as a whole. So for example, we have groups out there that specialize in talking about fibromyalgia. Help Alberta talks about chronic pain in all of its glory and all of its ways. So depending on what you need, there's probably somebody out there who's talking about it and supporting each other with it. When you do find a support group that you want to join, consider these things. Number one, that you find a group that is offering you a wide and healthy approach to the management of pain. So if you are looking at a group that is very specifically talking about one thing, for example, diet or a particular form of exercise, it's not necessarily bad, but as you're learning today, and as we've learned all along, often one approach does not work. So look for some organizations that talk about it in a more holistic way, and you'll have the opportunity to learn a whole lot more and get a lot more support from that organization. Make sure that it is a safe place to share. And once you do, feel the support from people around you and offer your support. I'm a person with a great deal of experience, and a couple of days ago, a person with just 2 years of experience gave me insight to something that I was struggling with recently. It's important that we all remain open-minded and share in these organizations and in this kind of peer support platform. And lastly, make sure that you talk to your care team about anything you might want to apply that you've learned from these organizations. Talk to them about a new treatment option, and that's fine. Talk to them about new form of exercise. That is great. But don't jump in and change your life overnight because a stranger in a group suggested it was a good idea. After all, we don't want to wind up buying another one of those $39.95 bracelets that is going to cure everything, right? I really want for every person to understand that there is no reason to have to suffer alone. There is no reason to have to suffer by yourself in the dark. A patient just reminded me the other day that after finding a support group in which she was able to share and communicate, learn and connect with people for the first time in her chronic illness journey, she felt like she wasn't alone. She felt like she was supported and that there were people who truly understood her. And I really hope that every one of you will take an opportunity to find and connect with some sort of peer support. And I really am advocating hard to increase the amount of peer support available in every level and aspect of care for chronic pain and chronic illnesses, because I believe that peer support is a critical part of the management of these diseases. When you start looking, remind yourself that you're worth the effort and you don't need to do this alone. And quite frankly, once you find that community, you are going to realize that your voice and your experience is not for nothing, because there will be people who need to hear from you just as much as you need their support. Help Alberta is available online at helpalbertaspain.com, or you can find us on Facebook. And if you are looking for something more specific, reach out and see if we can help you connect to some of those other resources. Thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity to share this.